Yeah, no. Yeah, so I'm Rob Kittle. I'm Lisa Force's assistant. So
aren't we all? Aren't we all?
So this is our co-host Lisa Force who joined. So I'm glad that she was able to attend. I'm glad that I asked her to attend to help co-host this, and it was great of her to do so. So Lisa's in Temecula, California, and
oh my God, Rob.
So she does. So
I'm muted myself, but my gosh, stop.
So I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is about an hour north of Denver. Handle about 3 counties here, about an hour radius from Fort Collins, which brings us up to the Wyoming border, kind of out to the Nebraska border, and everything down to to Denver and including North Denver. Been selling real estate for about 22 years. I've had a team for a majority of it. Typically sell in the 500 unit range, 500 to 600 units for the last couple of years, and have a team of about 20 agents, both kind of buyer agents, listing agents. We've gone to kind of a hybrid model. When people have been with the team for a while, they could be listing certified and can also list, versus the traditional model where buyer agents only buy, listing agents only sell. But we've kind of gone to more of a hybrid. Once you've been a team and have become, having a decent amount of volume, you could be listing certified. And then we've got about 15 staff, some VAs. And so that's a little bit about who I am and my history in real estate.
Yeah. So everyone that's on, we appreciate your time and being here. And the topic that we're going to discuss today is specifically how you stay ahead of any sort of shifting market, right? And some of the things that maybe Rob is already doing or had been doing in preparation for some sort of shifting market, and then how that relates to your automation, whether you're using Sierra or another CRM, what that looks like. And we're going to go through with Robert some of the things that he sees within his system, within Sierra, that people are doing to really make things more efficient within their business with automation, which we know in turn is going to potentially reduce labor costs, data entry, all those types of things, to keep your agents more efficient and more productive, especially as things start to adjust and within the market. So I think the first thing I'd like to jump into is specifically, let's start with like what you're seeing, Rob, in not only in your market, but I know that you talk to a lot of different high producers in different markets, and some of the things that you're starting to see, and maybe some of the adjustments or things you're preparing for within your business as any shifting market approaches.
Yeah. Well, I will kind of preface this that, Lisa and I were just in Bellingham last week and had the privilege of being able to hear Ben Kinney talk and really inspire us. And so a lot of what I'm going to be saying is just from recent inspiration that kind of piggybacks on what I've already known. But sometimes it's just a matter of, kudos to everyone here on this call, because it is about learning and staying focused and knowing where the puck's going. To take a Matt Wagner term, is you need to kind of think ahead as to what is going on, and being and educating yourselves always, and attending these are extremely important to be able to get the insight. Some of us have got the privilege of being and to be able to see where the puck's going ahead of time and can be that predictor. But a lot of it is also just hearing a lot of opinions and being able to determine that. So, I've been fortunate in my career where I was able to kind of see where the puck was going. And, I always say that when the market's good, you want to represent builders, because, they've got the inventory and it's great. And when the market's bad, you want to represent banks because they had the inventory and things were great. So I was always looking at who could give me a truckload of listings, who's that one point of contact that I could go to and find, and get, a ton of listings, right? So builder business, being a list assist agent for D.R. Horton, figuring out who could, from the REOs or short sales, And so that's really, a lot of it is being able to get that foresight as to where's the puck going to be? What can I do to be relevant, and not just relevant, but prolific in a shifting market, because we know shifting markets is a great opportunity time. It's where a lot of agents are not going to be able to see where the puck's going, and they're going to have to get out of the business. And so yes, so that's kind of step one is to get the knowledge and know what kind of problems you're going to be able to solve, what problems are going to come up for your business, and then how are you going to be able to solve problems for your client, because your clients are kind of in this, everyone is kind of scared right now, and that's what we're talking about is like the market's shifting. Oh shoot, now what? And think about your clients who aren't even in real estate. They don't know what to do, right? And so they're in panic mode and they're not sure. And it's you being the professional and that with the right communication to the clients so that you could be the go-to for them for their referrals and repeat business.
So Rob, you mentioned two things there that I found interesting that I want to go a little bit deeper on. And one is obviously there's a lot of opportunity, and the idea would be that there's a lot of agents that just aren't successful yet that manage to stay in the business and are going to fall out. And then the second part that you mentioned was, making sure that you're finding the people that are going to give you a lot of listings, right? As the market shifts. So talk to me a little bit about like what you plan to do, and we can lean into Robert here in a second. But what you plan to do when it comes to maybe even, expanding your recruiting efforts to agents out there that are looking for some place that has a really good foundation, right? To where like they know they can be successful in the right environment or with the right opportunity, and how it puts you at an advantage there as things adjust. And then additionally, like what you're doing to find partners, whether it's banks or whatever, that are going to, flow those listings to you.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure who our audience is, if they're team leaders, if they have teams, if they're solo agents. I'm not sure what exactly is going to be relevant, to talk about, but I don't know, if we could get some interaction, great, but otherwise I'll just wing it. Does anyone have any questions specifically around recruiting, or are people interested in recruiting, or are people individual agents and are just more interested in the system CRM and being able to automate things?
Hey, Rob, can I jump in real quick? I wanted to know, because it's one of the things Scott mentioned and it piqued my interest too. I saw something today that people are, that builders right now are abandoning even homes mid construction, and we are in the midst of a shifting market. And I'm really curious if you're seeing that in Fort Collins as a mountain state. And I'm also curious, how you're talking about, you could see where the puck is going. I appreciate a good hockey reference. Not a hockey guy myself, but sports analogies. Yes. What did you see with were you prepping? You've been in the industry for a long time, successful in the midst of COVID when things were going really amazingly the last 2 years. Didn't know it was going to, at the very front end of it, but then did. How were you thinking through that? Were you preparing at all for a downturn or a shift now that you're in the midst of it? I mean, did you see the puck going where it's going? So 2 questions there.
Yeah, I think it's I've been saying it for a long time that everyone's going to be locked in at 2.5, 2.75, 3%. Everyone bought a home and has got an amazing rate. Rates are at some point in time going to go up. I didn't expect that they would go up as quickly as they did. And so I was thinking that, hey, this is going to be really interesting when rates hit 4. I thought that might be one of these days it would be back up to 4. One of these days it might even get really crazy and get up to 5, right? But who would have thought that it would have got to, all of a sudden jump to 5.5 or more in such a short amount of time. So that has really kind of accelerated our, the problem, right? It's caused, just kind of this, fear in the market and what's going to happen. And so, yeah, I mean, it is, it's the reality of only the people that are have to move are going to want to voluntarily, go to a 5.5, 5.75 rate because, I'm not moving, I've got the 2.5. Why would I sell and go from, 2.75 to double that 5.5? So we do need to, be a better messenger to our clients. And that is, the unfortunate reality of what we're in is that a lot of people are going to hunker down and are going to stay put, and we're going to be having those conversations, and it's going to be hard to create motivation when they will, with that. So yeah. So yeah, as far as automation, I think, that's the messaging of the market, I guess, where the puck is going in new construction is going to be, is challenging, but where we could get more volume of leads. But as far as staying with automation, I don't know, what do you have in mind, Scott?
Yeah, so I think this goes back to Robert, and I like to pose a question to you, Robert. Like, what are you seeing now with some of your Sierra users as they start to set up more types of automation in messaging and content within Sierra? What's the message you're seeing? What are they trying to get out in front of buyers and sellers, and what are some of the things that some of the best practices that you're seeing people do within the system right now?
Well, I mean, I think what I'm hearing, it's kind of like, Scott, when, we're seeing tech having some issues, right? And people come out of their homes, they may not need Netflix as much anymore, right? They'll cancel that subscription. And when things are going really well, and you've got like Hulu and Netflix and Amazon Prime, right? Like different viewing options. When you've got a lot of money, you may not be all that concerned about it. And you're like, hey, do I really need this subscription? Well, I can pay for it, so I might as well find a show on Netflix that I really like. But when things tighten up, right, you have less of I think a reason to try and find a reason to use the thing. So I use that analogy to CRMs to say, I think it's worth investing, spending the time and looking as people are going to be looking at their credit card statements more now, right? They're going to be looking at the services they're using, their lead generation, their budget allocation. Where am I getting my best ROI? And I think they're really I think folks are already thinking about, how do I tighten up? And it's not necessarily just taking a red, marker and throwing slashes through your credit card statement, right? And chunking things aside.
Yeah.
It's really seeing, like, where am I getting the most value? Where do I need to be investing my time? And where do I need to be encouraging my agents? So those folks who have led really well, who do a great job with recruitment, with onboarding agents, with training agents, right? Giving them the tools, the education to be able to leverage things in a way that's just makes their lives and their jobs really easy, right? Those folks are going to be coming through, I think, the next, as we're in the midst of this shift, they're going to be, I think, in a place that's they're well positioned, right, to be able to navigate with their agents and with their technologies and with their budget. Folks who did not do that, who were just kind of riding by the seat of their pants over the last couple of years when things were going amazingly, like, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. And Rob already mentioned, folks leaving the industry. I think that we'll see, right? I mean, it's going to be a challenge for some people who maybe got into the industry the last couple of years, and this is what they've known, right? Was a lot of success, and now it's like it's not as successful, or it's harder, I guess. So there's a lot of work before, and it's a lot of work now, but it's a different kind of work now. So in terms of best practices, what I'm seeing a lot of focus on hyper local content. I'm seeing a lot of focus on people saying, how can I provide value to clients that's not just kind of en masse, but like is really specific? How can I show that I am the expert in my area? And you can utilize that with a number of different things, making sure everybody's set up on a market update, for example, keeping folks, up to speed with what is going on in the market. Could be something that's really general. Maybe you set somebody up on a very general market update, maybe a more specific one to where they are. And also setting up, a bulk text message, a mass email, something that is specific and hyper local to the area to be able to demonstrate, hey, I know I am the person that you can come to when you have questions. Because it may not be that, this may not be the time to go out there and just suss up FOMO, right? Hey, if you don't list now, like things are changing, you got to do it, right? It may be that folks need to take a little bit more of a long-term view to be able to provide value in an ongoing way, and hopefully a way that doesn't take, constant daily investment of time. That's where the automations can come in really well. The other thing I want to say is that in terms of automations, we're talking about automations right now. My big thing is you never want to automate yourself out of a job. If you automate everything, guess what? You are not necessary. And so there is something to like the hyper local, the market expert, the person who's been through it and can help you through it as well. There's something to having that authority in the midst of this kind of market, right? This shifting market. Just side note. Rob, you're talking about, representing the banks. A little anecdotal item I saw today, somebody said, my lender and the folks under my lender want to start calling leads like their ISAs. Well, if that's not a demonstration of things shifting, that's something, right? Lenders wanting to cold call leads in a database. I think having that sense of things dialed in, though, that you can dial in with automations. For example, Rob, I was taking a look at your account within Sierra and the automations you've set up within the account. And I think having automations where you can know who is raising their hand right now, who is really looking to make a move. So you have the folks at your sphere and folks you've worked with, and even just your database in general, where you're giving this sense of market expertise, and you can come to me for anything. I know what I'm talking about in this area. But then being able to identify quickly those people who say, right, like I'm interested. I'm showing you that I'm performing an action. And within Sierra, you can do that. Rob, on your Sierra site, you can find out within the Sierra automations, who's come back to your site after so many days away, or who's clicking consecutive listing alerts. Who if you use the Revaluate integration, and it may not even be on your Sierra site, right? So you may not be able to see who is coming back to your site after so many days away, but Revaluate works outside of the platform and can demonstrate potential hand raisers. And man, if you find somebody who's on your site and whose Revaluate score is going up, well, that's somebody that you need to call. So I think being able to consistently follow up with folks, make sure your agents are in a place where they've got the tools, that they need in the midst of a difficult potential work shift. Again, working hard before, but working hard now, but in a different way. And then being able to identify those leads who are raising their hands and are showing high intent. I think that's really where automations can fit each of those in different ways.
Yeah, I think everything you just said there was very insightful. And to kind of piggyback on that, like spending more time in your database or in Sierra, where your contacts live, the leads you've generated, and identifying how you can add more value that's very targeted. And so when you're talking about, Robert, people raising their hands, making sure that you're categorizing these people into certain groups. So then over time, you can really get hyper focused with the content and the message that you're sending to their specific need. And it's not so blanket marketing to your entire database, which is where you start, but then making sure that you're spending that time to really like the every contact in your database, whether it's raised their hand yet or not, or in your Sierra account, there's value there. They just might not be ready yet, and they might come out of nowhere and be ready. And the more data you have on those specific people to target them with the right message, it's going to be huge, especially in a market like this, because you've already spent the money to generate that lead. Now nurture it, add value, get, like I said, get the right message in front of them so that the conversion can increase with these people that you've already, added into your Sierra account, right? And what's great about Sierra is you have all these automation options with different campaigns or text messages and different, content that's available to you for every type of scenario. I mean, right?
In this market, you just really don't want to miss the actual opportunities that are there, right? Because they're not going to be coming necessarily. I mean, some markets may be different, but they're not necessarily going to be coming as, hot and heavy as they have been, right? You just need to make sure that those opportunities that do arise, you identify them quickly and act on them quickly. And that's where automations can really help. I mean, what do you think about that, Rob? I mean, how are you all making sure that you don't miss opportunities?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I mean, it's asking the right questions, seeing who has, through even viral videos, sending out the videos to your database and making those calls that is taking action, like you said, and reaching out to the people and having real estate conversations, and the Sierra is fantastic in how it identifies hand raisers, by having the market updates, so we were absolutely adamant about making sure that anyone who's a homeowner, that we set up a market update that's relevant, for their home, and so that they're getting updates on a regular basis. And then I'm assuming that everyone here is with Sierra, or do some people have a different CRM than Sierra?
Lisa has Boomtown.
Okay.
Lisa shook her head. She's I thought you were her assistant, though.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that background too, Lisa. We can come back to that. Let's go laughing. But yeah.
Yeah. So Sierra added a tool with the reevaluate score, and it does identify people who are likely to move or are starting to think about real estate again. So we're reaching out to them and having real estate conversations with them. And not just, the point of every of the CRM and every email that goes out and every text message goes out is to identify and get them to engage, right? So and then have a real estate conversation, is to make a phone call. You're never going to sell a home without getting voice to voice, face to face with someone. So, if we're afraid to have those phone calls, then we're probably in the wrong business. But getting a CRM, setting it up properly, getting the automation set up so that we could then identify who is starting to think about real estate, who's got a question about, who's engaging with the content that's going to them with the text messages. Is, hey, you thought, you said you're going to be selling your home in 2022, is now the time. Are you still thinking about it? And having the system with the automations and the action plans, past client action plans, getting them all set up properly, having systems to, so that, and that comes back to the recruiting. If you have everything set up properly and you could identify agents that are getting out of the business that are really good agents, they just don't have the systems. And building the system and building the mousetrap and having it set up properly where you could attract, because that's when attracting comes into play, and attracting recruits and getting people, identifying those people who have got fire in the belly, that you could just plug into your system and make them successful. So I think that that's a lot of what our jobs are in a shifting market, from the recruiting, from the automations, those, kind of why I brought that up at the beginning, is that they go hand in hand. The people, the teams, the agents that are going to survive and thrive in this business, in a shifting market, are those that have been set up and have done the work, have committed to the grit to improve their systems and their ability to have their mousetrap as finely tuned as possible. And that's why I think Robert and all that they do, and adjusting their CRM to fit a busy agent and being able to convert at a high level is why I shifted from Boomtown over to Sierra. So the mousetrap is there, and a lot of it is already in place. And then it's a matter of attracting the agents, showing them how to use the mousetrap to be able to be more successful.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you just spoke a lot to the systems and having the agents dialed in, but how important is it now more than ever, Rob, to make sure that like, not only are they in Sierra, but making sure that they're getting every lead and contact in Sierra to have those automations set up, and that process is dialed in, and that you have a look into that process and can see like what's happening to make sure that you're not missing those opportunities that Robert mentioned.
We have a Sierra dedicated meeting, an hour a week, just simply going over all that we're doing and what we're doing and how we're doing it, who's doing what are the opportunities missed. We hired a leads manager to also go through one-on-one with them. So we do it as a group call with our team, an hour a week. And then our leads manager is also having a 15-minute accountability call with every single buyer agent on the call, identifying, what are some potential opportunities, missed opportunities. They're keeping an eye on it. So if an agent's out showing properties, making sure that their inbox is at zero, that the new leads are as close to zero as possible, that we should not have any new leads in our system, that they should be, have moved over to, another, part of the conveyor belt, right? They're either in, watch or a different status. So it's inspect what you expect. And it's building it out and then putting systems and accountability into place to make sure that those things are being attended to. Hopefully Robert's not looking at my CRM because I'm probably the one with like 500 news, but everyone else in the company is doing a good job except for me. But I've got an assistant that we're working on getting all of my personal leads that we're in new, because I'm still in production. I still list. So I've got a full-time assistant to help me manage my CRM as well, because it's managing the CRM and all being on the same page as to what that conveyor belt looks like and how it's set up, and then attending to it and making sure that the automations are being attended to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, one other thing that I know that, I've had a lot of conversations around over the years is like your SOI, your past clients, any business that you can get repeat referral specific that are in your CRM. How important is it to make sure that, not just with new leads, Rob, but like your past client SOI, that you're having really great communication now more than ever, not just you, but like making sure that your agents are bringing in all of those people that are in their sphere, all those contacts into the CRM to make sure that there's those automations set up for follow-up, right? Because we know that a lot of the sales are within the follow-up, right? Make sure you're following up at the right time, ahead of time, having those conversations, having that communication, having that automation.
Yeah, I mean, if you set up I guess step one is that the whole company has to agree on what's important and how this is going to be done, right? That, and if people are not willing to make easy calls to their sphere, to their past clients, then I've just told them that we're probably not a fit. We need to find people with fire in the belly, and that is, I mean, and just continue to say that if that's part of our job, is to really align ourselves. Our jobs become so much easier when we have everyone rowing the boat together. If people are not willing to call, if you have people on your team that are not doing happy anniversary calls, and that's, again, in Sierra, you've got the anniversary, ability to do that and sort by, their anniversaries. And so and we hold them accountable. You've got to make your happy anniversary calls. And if you're not making them, we're going to have a conversation, right? About what's going on with their business. Why are they in real estate? If they can't call their sphere, then I've got a problem with it. I'm just going to be blunt. I mean, this is a phone calling interactive business of where we need to be a resource for our clients, and everyone in the industry is probably, or that owns a home, is going to want to, kind of have an expert in their corner to be, and then that's our job, is to make sure that we are their expert. There's nothing worse when you, and I'm sure if anyone's been in the business of a past client and you see that they sold their home and listed their home with someone else, right? I mean, that's just the worst feeling in the world when you've bonded with this person, you've done everything for them, you worked your butt off for them, and sure, you got the commission, but you didn't get the relationship. So there's three things you could get from every transaction, right? You could get a commission, you could get an education, and you could get a relationship, right? So hopefully you get all three. But the most important of the three is obviously the relationship. So we need to do an amazing job of, if we've dropped the ball and haven't talked to someone in a couple of years, it's time to pick up the ball. And in a shifting market, we've got to, make sure that we re-engage with our past clients, because our past clients are going to be way more important. I mean, everyone knows there's two people in the world. There's the people you've met and there's the people you have not met. We've got to be darn good with the people we've met, and the people in our sphere and our past clients is a gold mine.
Yeah, I mean, what an opportunity, right, Rob? Right now, there's a reason to call these people and have a conversation about the market,
right?
And figure out where they're at, like if they need help, if they need you to refer anyone for their home. I mean, there's so many opportunities as being that person in the business to have a really, really valuable conversation right now with your past clients or sphere. Right.
Yeah. And just to kind of add on to that, Scott, Rob, I know that a couple of years ago, we're well over 2 years since the beginning of COVID. And that was the time I heard somebody say, this is a good time to reach out to to folks in your database, your sphere, and just say, how you doing? And just let the conversation flow, because people will have something to say. I'm curious now, as everybody's feeling the pinch. If it's only gas prices, I mean, I went to look at coffee the other day. Coffee prices are going, it's just everything, right? Everybody's feeling the inflation pinch in some way or another. And I'm curious now, Rob, when you're making those phone calls, your sphere, to build off what Scott said, is the conversation, hey, let's talk about the market? Is the conversation just based on your notes in the CRM? You were planning to make a move in 2022. Has anything changed? Is it how you doing? What's the nature of the conversation you're having your agents have?
I wish I had something very specific and profound to say, but it's, essentially it's just that, hey, it's been a year, I mean, rates are crazy, how are you feeling about, the market right now? And it's just very, it's an open-ended question, and it's, obviously you start with more of the personal stuff. How's little Johnny? How's, the things that are relevant, and obviously putting in all of those things into the CRM so you can have those relevant conversations as you, sell more and more homes. You're going to have more and more conversations, and making sure that you, I'll never forget about the Smiths. Oh, and then 2 years later, I'm like, shoot, I can't remember what their dog name was. Right. So make sure that you're taking good notes. And then when you're working with them, since you're going to be having these happy anniversary calls, put as much information as about them. We have, one of the better things that you guys could do is have an all about you form. And so the all about you form, what's their favorite restaurant, their favorite sports team, what kind of vacations do they like to take? So we do that on purpose, at the time of going under contract. And it's very purposeful, so that we know, how to, what closing gifts to get them. They're going to be going to Belize in a couple of months. Fantastic. Buy them a book about Belize on Amazon. Listen to them. Be very purposeful with how your transaction goes, and you could automate that too with closing gifts. And so when you're talking about automations, you could set that out for an automation to go out from a year from now on their a week before their anniversary, that they get sent that a book on whatever they're into, if they're into pottery or fly fishing or whatever it is. So think ahead, that this is not automate that, set up Amazon to send that gift a year from now. so that it's done, and have your transaction coordinators start thinking about those automations and what can you do to set it and forget it and make yourself look like a superhero, right?
Yeah, and then apply a task to follow up a week later with a did you get, right? I mean, there's a lot there to that you're able to do to automate in a way that actually enhances and builds the relationship and doesn't replace it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, having not been in the real estate industry in any way before joining Sierra well over 4.5 years ago, but now being, in the midst of it and learning every day, I never heard that. So I don't know if that's a Rob Kittle trademark, but every transaction or every experience with a lead, you can potentially get up to 3 things: the commission, the education, the relationship. But the long view, right? The really successful people will get all 3 more often than not, right? And those relationships is then what builds more of the commission down the road, right? I mean, that's somebody who succeeds for not just like 2 years in the midst of a really nice market, but 4 decades.
Yeah.
We should gamify that, right? I mean, as far as the buzzword gamify is like, how many referrals? I mean, as far as a contest goes, that would be a really fun thing to do, is to see who could get the most referrals. Early on in my career, I had a client that referred me to someone who referred me to someone who referred me to someone. I tried to see how many referrals that one person ended up in, and that's the, help me out, Lisa, the 7 levels of communication. And, you thank the person, hey, because of you, I'm now working with the Smiths. Well, who are the Smiths? Well, the Smiths were referred from the Franklins. Well, who are the Franklins? Well, the Franklins were referred from the, from whoever, and so on. And it's like, because of you, I had all of these referrals 7 levels up. And it's like, you referred me Frank, but Frank referred the, Julie, and Julie referred, and so you do, and then you thank each person all the way up the chain. And it's just, it's like, wow, my referral matters. It's kind of the butterfly effect. Everything you do matters, but to thank people, and showing gratitude, I don't know if we could automate that, going back to automations, but it is
Handwritten cards.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have a partner that we're going to be coming out with shortly. If anyone hasn't heard of audience.co, I'm gonna talk about them real quick, but basically they have little robots that do handwritten cards, so you can make it all automated. It's pretty cool. And that's a great way to if you can keep track and have a specific note or template for those referrals, Rob, that'd be a pretty sweet thing.
Yeah. Handwritten notes, gratitude, and then automating, along that line would be, is key. But building out the systems, being really systematized through a shift, and willing to make endless phone calls. We've got to get people who are, the automation is great and provides the nudge, 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 hand raiser, call.
Right.
And that's where the automation is key, is to get the nudge, 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 and get that hand raiser. And we just got to find people that are killers, that have got fire in the belly, that are willing to make the calls. And we've got to find so many agents that are afraid to make the phone calls and just do the heavy lifting. And it's just, we've been conditioned, and things have been easier, and we've got to do things differently. And that is a lot of it is just, we've I think a lot of people have kind of gotten to things are easy, things are coming in. We've got to be a lot more proactive with our communication. Yes, Lisa.
So I was just going to add to that. This is awesome. Thank you, Rob and Robert. Just this Ben Kinney thing that we all just went to, we were talking about, we all hire, generally speaking, for Yaron and I, we've always hired for culture first and skill second, because we know we can train someone. The difference is that my mind shift this week was really interesting, because Ben Kinney, his whole perspective is like, he goes, I don't know what he calls it a potluck culture. He goes, you guys got this potluck. You all are friends. You all know that you'll like hanging out with them. But he goes, I have a production culture. So if you can't produce, you're not on my team. And so we've shifted. I mean, it just really was a nice, wake up call for me personally, because we shifted from everybody having to do like 2.57 transactions a month to, oh man, but there's such a great culture fit. if they do 2 or 3 in the next couple months, we're good. Like they fit so well in the culture. But unfortunately, it tends to bring the low productivity tends to bring the overall productivity down. If you got some low performers, like we put up numbers every single week, like, do you have 0 on the board, 0 on the board, 10 on the board, 6 on the board. And so you see these same people doing 0 all the time. And all of a sudden you're thinking, is culture worth it?
Well, and that is the culture, right?
Yeah.
People who aren't producing or not, that is part of the culture. And it's certainly not an either or, first or second. It really is a both and. I mean, having people around that are high producing, excelling, who have, Rob, you keep saying fire in the belly, that is going to bring, I mean, I'm getting excited right now just thinking about it, because that's going to bring this sense of momentum and excitement and real culture. You want to like the people that you work with, right? You want to be able to enjoy and have good banter and have a potluck, but wow, it's a lot even more fun if everybody's crushing it and is doing really well and is pushing each other to do better. I just wanted to come back real quick, Rob, to your 7 layers. It's kind of like you want to become the Kevin Bacon of real estate, right? Like you can trace back, even 7 out to different people that you've worked with. And I just, with the automations and doing the work, and maybe to your point a little bit too, Lisa, around productivity and having good culture, having a systems in place via Sierra or RealSync or whatever you're working with, right? It's kind of like you come into a restaurant or even just your home and somebody provides you this meal that you're just like, whoa, this is like, I love this food. I wasn't even expecting this, and then not eating, right? You have these automations that just tee up these opportunities when you set them in place. And that's some of the rainmakers, however you want to call it, the team leaders, the brokers, like that is part of your job, I think, is to be able to think at a systems level. How can I help the people around me succeed? So that means you're going to be spending time thinking about, how can I set up systems and automations that tee up opportunities for people to be able to succeed, and then encouraging them to act, right? When that wonderful meal is just like placed in front of you, go ahead and eat now, right? When somebody is coming back to your side after a few months away, when their evaluate score pops up into the 60s, when they are all of a sudden now clicking through many listing alerts, when all these different things that you can do to identify, hey, I'm raising my hand, I'm thinking about making a move, act, make a call, send a message, send a video message, whatever it is to demonstrate, make sure everybody's on a market update, these types of things that you can really take a little bit of time and set yourself up, not just for right now, but for years in the future, right? To be able to have this culture of success, this culture of productivity, and a free space in your brain. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that automations is just really wonderful for. Automating certain things within your business is it just gives you so much brain space to be able to think at this higher level. And then you've got these systems in place where you have expectations in place. And so to your point, Rob, when somebody isn't meeting like the expectations that everyone agreed upon when they came on, you've got it set up where you can just then address it without having to kind of get anecdotes or hint around, or it's just like, hey, here it is. Like, we've got these things in place. This is what we are going to work on, right? Let's talk about it. So automations can be just a very wonderful thing, but you've got to be able to take a little bit of time to set it up, work within Sierra automations, and that's what I know best. Work with RealSync to be able to get other Sierra and other services talking to each other, whatever CRM you use. You got something custom. I know RealSync can work with that. Look at those things where you're saying, what is it that I think you've talked about this, Scott, like at other times, that what are the areas where I'm consistently spending manual time, right? Yeah. Where are the biggest manual pain points in my business and in my own personal day-to-day? Is there an automation that can help solve that? Not so that I can just sit back and do nothing, but so that I can spend that time, my brain space, on something that is even a higher level, higher value for myself and those folks around me. And I love, Lisa, that you talked about that culture, because the culture is so important. But that's part of building that great culture, right? That's how you show your love to the people that you work with, is you set them up to succeed. Automations can help do that.
Yeah, absolutely, Robert. And going back to like something, something you can do very small things that can make huge impacts with automation, which is amazing, right? Like an example, in my house, just this weekend, I put up like a Nest for my AC unit, and man, God, I should have done it years ago. I didn't know what I was missing, but now I'm like sleeping better. I can like have it all set up to like turn the air on when I want it to turn on, and just from my phone. I don't have to get out of bed to go turn on the air conditioner, which I had to before. It was a little thing in my home compared to the whole house, but it's making a huge difference already. So it's the same thing with your Sierra, your CRM. You have to get in there, make little tweaks, make sure that it's performing the right way, because the key is in the follow-up and the nurturing and building the relationship through communication with that client. So like Robert said, you're not having to worry about that part. All you have to worry about is, what's the last thing I said to this person, or the last time I had a communication with this person? Where did we leave off? All that's tracked. All that data is in that contact record, in that activity feed. So or it should be in there. You should be noting it as well, that when you pick up that phone and make that call, as we talked about how important that is, you know exactly where you left off, where to start that conversation again with that person. And that's going to lead to more referral or repeat business, right? And so one of the things I wanted to quickly mention before we go to questions is one of the things that Real Estate's coming out with Sierra, we're hoping by the end of next week, is a bi-directional integration with Google Contacts, because we know the importance of having your agents' data in your Sierra account, and also making sure that all of that data is updated constantly in real time. If you have a new number or a new address, or you missed a birth date, you need to get that in, or this other piece of data, that it's in real time with your different systems. So Google and Sierra. So you have all that data, it's accurate, gives you that advantage when you do that follow-up to make sure that you're following up on the right information. All right. So
Hey, real quick, I wanted to mention on the automations, I forget which company it is that they have. It's a VA company, right? And the owner of the VA company, someone told me about it, so I can't remember the name of the company, but he hired all these VAs, and he and they're you could hire them and they're all trained and everything, but he has put automations into everything, where he's got a camera looking at his laundry bin, and when the laundry bin gets full or getting close to full, his VA will look at the camera from the Philippines and say, wow, that laundry basket's getting full. I better order the laundry to get done. So he doesn't even have to do that, right? He doesn't even have to do his laundry, nor does he even have to pick up the call to have the laundry service come and pick up the laundry, because his VA does it for him. So it frees up more time, is the point, to be able to do dollar producing activities. So the point of automations, the point of having someone do your laundry, the point of having a Nest that you don't even have to worry about it, set and forget it, and it's automatically going to adjust the temperature at different times during the day. It's all of those things that you could focus on the dollar, and there's another exercise, right? Is, you have two stopwatches, and am I doing dollar producing activities? And when am I not doing dollar producing activities? We all need to be focused on our day at doing dollar producing activities, and we got to hold ourselves accountable to doing that. Am I doing a dollar? So the automations could create, like Robbie T was saying, it's like, man, these automations, they're so fantastic, but it's hard to tell when our ISAs are actually working, because what are they actually doing anymore? Because the system is doing so much. And then it's hard to tell what are the ISAs making the dials? Are they making enough contacts? And so we kind of have to shift our thinking when these kind of automations are available, as to what are we doing, and is it creating us lazy agents, or is it actually allowing us to be killers, right? And to be able to have a phenomenal day and make the calls, make the dials, make the connections, set the appointments, And I think what we're accountable to and how we measure whether our productivity is at the highest level, I think, is we're able to do that a little bit easier now that the automations are able to free up that time. We're not having to do our own laundry.
I love it.
I would just from my perspective, would modify that slightly, Rob. Maybe you'll align or maybe not, from dollar producing to desire allowing. And I think the desire, can be the dollars, right? But I think that's kind of one of the things that you're talking about, Scott. Like, it just gives you, with your example, those things where you can automate and set up allow you to just do more of the things that you desire, that you enjoy. And those can, be tied back to dollars, or maybe not directly, but indirectly, like building a relationship. Hopefully you like talking to the people that you're talking to each day, that you're checking in with and talking about the markets and this type of things. Like, building that relationship, again, can be tied back to dollars, but it's a desire. Like, right, you get to talk to somebody today and potentially make an impact in their life. You can learn something. Right. There's just all these good things where when you set certain things up that you just don't need to be spending your time on, you don't need to be spending your brain space. It might cost a little bit of money, to be able to set it up, but wow, is that worth it for what you get in place of it? Right. So I resonate with what you're saying. I would just use a different D word that can be related.
Sure. Agreed.
All right, so we have a few minutes left. If anyone has questions for Robert or Rob, you can either drop it in the chat really quick, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Ideally, not everyone does it at once, but yeah. Any questions about what Rob's doing in his business when it comes to streamlining things and keeping his business efficient and productive, or with Robert when it comes to some of the things that he's seeing within Sierra and how Sierra is functioning as an amazing tool for teams and agents? Lisa?
So I don't have Sierra. We use Boomtown, but Rob, what are you doing on when you're keeping up with the client? Like, I understand it sounds like Sierra has this whole robust, like, you can kind of relate several different leads together, or you can rate. So how are you keeping in touch? Are you using any of the direct marketing? Are you doing any of that kind of thing for keeping in touch with all your client base?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just one thing, right? I mean, market update's great. Just like Boomtown, you could send them comps, right? And that's what people care about once they buy a home is, how much is my home worth, and that you're relevant by providing them with that information. But the viral video is still, we're still doing viral videos every, sending out market information that way. The personal phone calls, the client parties, of course, that people do, pie giveaways, and all of we had movie nights, we've had bowling parties. So, and that helps by getting the messaging out through, a CRM to do that, and being able to, having an organized CRM is important. Like, past clients, this is a past client event. This is how we do it. We have a inner circle, a Facebook group inner circle that's just for our past clients. And we make sure that we invite and get all of our past clients in there so that they're aware of all of our different events and what we're doing. And we send that out through Sierra as well to, get them engaged. So they all kind of, link together. But we are finding that we need to double down and do more events to be better. It's the phone calls that I think that we're lacking, that we're doing a great job on a lot of those things, but it's the personal touch that I think we've been a little bit lazy on. The CRM is fantastic, and the automations are fantastic. But I guess the long and short of all of this is there's nothing that's going to, replace you being relevant with your clients by having that interaction directly. So automations are fantastic. They'll save you the time so that you have the time to make those calls. If you don't have someone who does your listing contracts for you, you are the person who does the listing contracts, right? So you hire leverage, and it frees up your time to do those higher dollar producing or desire producing activities, and that you can do more by having leverage, and automations provides that leverage. So leads, listings, leverage, right? I mean, that's one of Gary Keller's 3 L's. Automations is such an awesome leverage tool to give you the free up more time. So you could, focus on those things that are important. But you do need to measure and take, what was my day like? How much of it was doing important stuff, or how much was it distractions? We all get distracted, and we got to kind of, hold ourselves accountable and help our agents do the same. Ben Kinney had a great conversation with us about, doing the win every day. And that starts with the night before, so he gave us a whole checklist of the things that you need to do with your mindset that, you get to sleep better because you unload everything and you kind of write down, make the list, figure out if I was to have the perfect day tomorrow, what would that look like? And start from there. And so that you could set up your perfect day. But it starts with the mindset the night before. And, so you're able to be much more focused that following day. So that's something that a lot of us have implemented in making that happen. But and having more time with automations to be able to make sure that you've got the perfect day, that you could achieve the perfect day. But the automations, you're just not doing a lot of the busy work that you end up doing, and you're pushing the paper, you're changing the status from new, but the system, when it's set up properly and it's working for you and doing a lot of that for you, it frees up your mind, that you're not worried about whether things are falling through the cracks, because the hand raisers are going to come to you, and you're able to identify who's got real estate on their brain so much easier. So it's just it gives you such a sense of freedom and ability to really be focused too, without feeling like my CRM is, are you in control of your CRM, or is your CRM in control of you? I think that's a biggie, and automations will have you kind of help you to be in control of the CRM.
Well, on that note, Barry, I'm happy to talk to you directly to answer your question. But yeah, like it's not custom. We're more like a Zapier on steroids. So all of our automations or integrations are pre-built, the ones that you want to use. And then we do some custom work that's a la carte if that's something that you need, right? But
it's both and, right, Scott?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the ways that differentiates you from Zapier, although there's some similarities with various aspects of it. But you're real estate specific, and that's the thing. Like Scott Slaughter is a little bit like Kevin Bacon in the real estate industry. I think a lot of folks can tie back to him in some way. And I think one of the things you'll find is that it's good to work with people that you can connect with. Like Rob and I have emailed before. We met in Louisville. Scott, we've been around to have folks who understand real estate. And I don't think you're going to be able to email somebody at Zapier and do the same kind of thing. So I just to kind of throw that out there as well.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you, Robert, being on and running, being in charge of developing an amazing system and business at Sierra. And Rob, thanks so much for spending your time with us today and your insight and wisdom on a changing market and building an amazing business that you have done, and how you've affected a lot of people's lives in your area, man, in a very, very positive way. So there's a lot to be said about that. It goes back to those relationships. So I appreciate you both very much for being on, spending your time today with us. And thanks everyone for joining us. If you have any additional questions, Robert, what's your email again? Robert@SierraInteractive.com. Is that what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. And just a shout out to Ben Pesco, our CEO, David Short, our head of product, a lot of just the leadership at Sierra. We're just continuing to make moves. Would love to talk to anybody who is interested in Sierra, or if you're with Sierra, different areas where you would love to see a focus. We're definitely open, curious, want to know more. So please do reach out, and would especially love to talk to you if you're not with Sierra yet.
Yeah, Lisa.
Let's go laughing.
Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all soon. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for your time
Thank you,
again.
Scott. Appreciate
All
it.
right, thanks.